Hi, this is Jamie Hume for Lightyear Career, and this is for you if you are an ambitious professional working in, particularly in a large organisation. You want to get the best out of your role, you want to enjoy your work, you want to make the biggest impact you can, and you certainly want to earn what you're worth and make sure your reward stacks up too. And this video today is about realising your energy and potential at work. So I ran a little survey on LinkedIn on this recently, and asking people whether they felt that their work was sufficiently challenging, or whether they had skills, interests, and energy, etc., that wasn't being tapped properly by their organisation. And there was a clear majority, about nearly 70% of people felt underutilised at work, because the fact is that most employers don't know how to get the best out of their people. And what this means is that too many people are not finding the space that they need to really stretch to their fullest kind of potential. And I've seen this over and over again. You know, I've worked in the senior civil service, I've worked in big business, I've worked as a consultant at PwC and in boutique consulting firms. So I've come across dozens and dozens and dozens of organizations, and I've observed hundreds of career journeys. And I've been looking at this really carefully over the last kind of 25 years to see, well, what are the patterns of success and what are the patterns of failure and underachievement in careers, including, you know, from my own experience, where I've gone from being the kind of star performer and coming in at the top of the intake to being someone who's kind of surplus to requirements. My career had come right off the boil at a certain point. And then I managed to pick that up. I managed to double my salary with a move to another organisation, and then to double it again, and, you know, again, incredibly enough. You know, I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't work. And so this video today, anyway, about realising your energy and potential, making the biggest impact you can, which is critical for your kind of progression at work. It's critical for your salary. It's critical for the roles and the opportunities that you're offered by your employer. You know, if you're someone who's seen to be making a big difference, then the story that gets told about you at work by your boss and his or her peer level, or your you know, senior managers, exec team, etc. You know, are you someone who wants to be, whose name wants to be on the team sheet for the next big project, or the, you know, the change initiative or whatever? So making the most of your potential is obviously, it's great for you. It's also great for your employer. It's exactly what you were hired for in the first place. Make the biggest difference that you can, make the biggest contribution to the kind of bottom line. So question, you know, how hard can this be? If that's what it's good for you, if it's what you're hired to do, how hard can it be? And the answer is it can be really hard. You know, it's the complex world of organizations where we need to deliver to a day job, where a job description actually might, you know, undersell what we're capable of by a very big margin, but nonetheless we've got to kind of deliver those day job priorities. A thing that holds a lot of people back is kind of it's not so much the culture, it's the kind of the organization persona that people believe they have to adopt, or that they end up adopting, either early on in their career in an organisation or with time, whereby it becomes, you know, people won't push the boat out. They'll stop contributing maybe their ideas or all of their energy and so on. They'll stop going against the flow. They might, I mean, for example, in the civil service, right, you'd see meetings where people that would go on for a large amount of the day, you know, lots of time in meetings, where people were afraid to speak up, because every time you open your mouth, there's judgments being made about the quality of your contribution. You know, are you on point? Are you sort of displaying a sharp enough kind of intellect, a sharp enough kind of analysis, and so on? And it really curbs people, and it curbs people's contributions at all kind of different levels. So, you know, for all these kinds of reasons, it can be very, very difficult to find that space that a lot of people, particularly you might find senior people, seem to occupy, where there's a really close kind of conjunction between their natural strengths and what the job requires of them. So they're able to be themselves, they're able to enjoy themselves, and they're able to get done what the organisation needs them to do in a way that appears kind of seamless, it appears kind of effortless. And, you know, this would be great for more and more of us to get into that space, right? So they kind of find their niche and they find a way to play. And I'm just going to suggest I mean, most of this video today is just to give a few things to think about, I guess. This is the start of me putting together a channel on these things, and these are the kind of thoughts that I'm going to be expanding on over a whole series of videos. So, you know, if you feel that that's you, if you feel that you're struggling to make the kind of difference that you're capable of, if you feel that maybe you've missed out on promotions, maybe you started off on the fast track or the grad scheme or whatever, and you feel your career's kind of come off the boil, all these questions around how do you land a big impact at work, these are the ones that really interest me and that I'm going to try and share some insights on over this, you know, over the course of this video series. And for now, then, I'm just going to leave this with two or three thoughts, right? So, how do you make that disproportionate impact? And the first thing I'm going to say is this: that what is critically important and what a lot of people lose sight of is you need to be solving and you need to be focused on problems that matter for the most senior people. So it seems obvious, you know, if you're focused on sales, you know, it's about bottom line and getting the sales in. Or you're dealing with, you know, a big policy problem, or you've got a supplier challenge or whatever, it seems obvious that you should be focusing on the things that matter most to the people at the top. But I've seen so many careers come off the boil at different points, and including my own, where people have gone from performing really well, landing a big high-profile project or program that then may come to an end, and then 6 months later, a year later, 18 months later, people kind of having to reprove themselves all over again, people having to rebuild that story about the difference that they can make because they weren't smart enough about the choices they made about where they'd focus next. So project comes to an end, and then you might be, you know, poached by another internal recruiter. You know, you've got your reputation's kind of high, your stock's running high in the company, and you're quite an attractive hire, and you might be flattered by another post in another area. That actually, if you stop to think about, well, what's the most value that I could add to the organisation, and how do I best do justice to my own potential as well, you know, there can be a tendency to kind of sell ourselves short a bit there, and to not really think about, no, you know what, I'm going to hold out for a much higher profile job as my next move. I'm going to hold out for something where I can really make, you know, I can build on my success instead of kind of going for, you know, a second tier kind of post or something where it's not clear whether that's going to be, you know, be as good for me and as good for my profile as another kind of choice. So that's one thing. That's about making, you know, focusing on the things that make a difference. God, I'm out of breath. I've been walking through this olive grove up the hill on this crisp January day. Okay, and the second thing I'm going to talk about is that through all of this, and this is a theme I'll, you know, talk about a lot over this series, it's all about how do you make a disproportionate impact and how do you exceed expectations for your role. Because if what you're doing at any level in an organisation is kind of consistent with what you've been asked to do or told to do or given permission to do, then you're never going to exceed your expectations. You know, you're always working within a job description that maybe sells your potential short, maybe where you're not being stretched or given the opportunity to stretch into areas that, you know, where you can deliver more. And you know, it's about keeping your horizons high, so keeping that really ambitious, stretching vision about what you can achieve for the company, and then getting yourself in positions to deliver that. So look, I hope that was useful. That was sort of some thoughts and reflections on this piece about realizing your energy and potential, how important it is, some of the obstacles that there are for realizing your energy and potential, and this kind of core idea that in order to do that, you've got to value yourself, you've got to value the difference that you can make to the organization, and you've got to get yourself in a position where you're working on stuff that matters. So some of the other themes we're going to be looking at are around self-awareness. You know, how do you find out about your own strengths and weaknesses and really develop an insight around where's that sweet spot? Who else do you need to be playing with? Who do you need to kind of cover for you? And what's the unique difference that you can make? How do you build your networks? Who are you going to work with, and how do you stretch your networks to get to a point where you're actually influencing senior level decision makers? And then kind of that piece around, all right, you've got an idea that you need to focus on important things. Well, what exactly are they, and how do you make a start, and how can you start to build momentum towards growing your profile as a person who is able to contribute, you know, out of the beyond your grade, beyond expectations for your posts. So lots more on all of this coming. Do check out the website www.lightyearcareer.com. You can subscribe to YouTube channel if you want. I guess it's good having subscribers on YouTube channel. I'm new to this, so you know, by all means click subscribe if you've enjoyed this content, and lots more coming your way soon. I'll leave you with a shot of the mountains behind me, which looks spectacular this afternoon. There we are.